honom na Amisha say free Italy. Say Misha said the free Italy a me who saw a story about Antonio Conte ne omo Napoli sense ne nkomo and na mechire ne de kwa kosisi nyina buboba. I think say Antonio Conte baby are all position himself as a coach, you know. In the long run, the reputation will be at stake. Shade, when him say when one particular coach and the biggest problem by cup games. In his entire seasons at Juventus, one the Coppa Italia da. On 2 occasions now, oje the Supercoppa d'Italia. Asa, ano G League twa so. Inter Milan wanje the Coppa Italia. Inter Milan a league and Antonio Conte koje. Chelsea no baya obeji league sasoje the FA Cup. At Napoli, the Coppa Italia went to me and a league na waje. Ojiwi o se adwuma no kra no. O pe kwa bi so man to kwa sima manager adwuma no ho akọ. Fancy. Let me say Antonio Conte on is done in a tone sadidie. Because omu ye adwuma na omu play certain smart level bi a ase omu nto aso ma bibi mbeyi omu to ase akonwa.
So when him say next season any smooth same.
Antonio Conte cannot play the Champions League and the league together and do well for Napoli. Hey, see, it won't happen. It as a league no besa GBM. Na Champions League no we free mu. Ebi abe round of 16 kra. And on play no wo kra nko ye adwuma no kra na wakobo Champions League akobo league no kra ma ba akokra kogu nanim ase. Because all Juventus are every season biano Juventus are there Champions League mo akwa quarter final and ahimo. The first season our G League ma Juventus, not Juventus and more any other competition because Juventus were playing in the Europa League the previous season. Sometimes I wonder the no Champions League in this annual because as a player, let's not forget that he won the Champions League in 95-96. He was a finalist. I will lose the final on 3 occasions against Borussia Dortmund 96-97. Wajid the UEFA Cup. He has been finalist in the UEFA Cup at some point in time. Wajid the UEFA Intertoto Cup. So in terms of caps, as a player, he has done it all. But as a coach, I think there's one open league at and then one of Fana Base League, no major one season. Oh, you are not caught. You're fanning build it team. Meno or one coach drew maybe Krana United ipe coach Krana many Johnson coach way by United Akebe one. But in the long run, whatever United wants to do, we on more United.
So on pay that long term.
Debbie. On 2 to 3 years, once how many players or pa and one no. Well, you're finding your project Juma.
The one who can one who crobessa about the money Diego Costa.
That is it.
And an space or brand.
Yeah, Tottenham.
You're finding your project Juma cry. Now, Napoli for them body kakra because I feel like a team Nigeria. Now, Amokofa Kevin De Bruyne Adenaba. Ababeshe team Nimkina. You already have Romelu Lukaku. Ubo se baby obokobi Arsenal. If he's supposed to join Juventus, trust you me, Juventus will come for Lukaku. Baby obokobi Juventus. Ana Juventus eni abrese Tudor. Omutimini ni nya adwuma bi. It's a real season now, encore. But Antonio Conte was very good history with Juventus because he no more dominated the talents. You are not a head coach and Allegri. So when you bring him in, but maybe someone said the quality of Juventus, said the Antonio Conte demanding no crown. Nobody me my juma. Locatelli, oh no, you're the small type of players, ask yourself, ope. Colomwani no ope. Napoli will sit down and they will bite on my fingernails and say they signed a deal with the devil. Also, Timine Bonsam consign contract be we were jam or marry, but song soon swan. Ediomachi and schedule about on Namospe went to me. He's never a project coach, and I think he's a fine coach when it comes to winning league titles. But in the reputation as a world class coach, fancy, I think Antonio Conte puts a dent on it, especially with the way we behave with several clubs or joining. Enchebia Pam. no free oko enche bia no oja oko nya de uji league ni wi a onto aso biem whatever Chelsea with their project no we are told ball ya wakoma beto yem kakra because untimi spend a huge amount of money over £1 billion na 2 consecutive seasons na untimi embo the UEFA Champions League. There is a reason why most clubs are enthused about playing in the Champions League. The charisma of the competition, the quality of opposition in the competition, the level of pedigree a competition you want. But the reality of the situation, they won't come about the Champions League, the amount of money you gain from it. Not necessarily directly from the competition, scared but the moment you find yourself in the Champions League, or sponsors, or match day revenue, everything increases. Because fancy. So you kotoko crampo na say Obo League match o charge 20 cedis a Edu CAF Champions League o be charge 40.
Yes.
It will see Casemiro day.
Wontumi 101.3.
The taste and preference for the competition gives you a lot of money. But you can spend a huge amount of money for 2 seasons with young players. As a coach is bear 3. Na mu no opportunity in Roma headache bibi be yo. But when my pressure never from because whatever they are building no enye nene sube swaba. Me for instance, I'm still waiting to see what will happen to their project. But I think one of the boldest steps are club ni betimi enya eteki their chance to play in the Champions League next season. That is all. Uncle Faka is settled for such amount of money. Uncle Fa Enzo Fernandez for such amount of money. Uncle Fa most of these players for such amount of money. And be still be langling around 4th, 3rd. And Kwanibia Obebo Champions League. But people expect you to win. But I think the Champions League offers you another opportunity for projects now to move to a different stage. I'm happy for them. Say the last few games netting pa.
Yeah, because Mekai say
Manchester
the last 6 matches.
Netting pa. Netting. Obi oba catch us a games netting biana oboa. But I think this is a test of character for a young team like Chelsea. They needed some of these moments to test their pulse. Fancy. And could I mono to be very honest with you within the team. Obi no one ma wajibi bi papa bia. Top player bien one ma beka so winner wo Chelsea current setup ni Adara bioyo onya winner papa bia the mo market kan Nicholas Jackson mo ne ko Palmer ne City no kra no mo gigi leagues no no one start but to feel part of a certain project to be a major consistent winner in this setup no natural it would tie Enzo Maresca at the point in time on one kasa beka say omo hia winners omo hia a certain level of experience be on dressing room war. So be call press conference because asem no. So players no don't must young players baby. But within the dressing room they need people of more experience. They be America say Chelsea Champions League no more and one of the key players are no more set up Nimbo Power Thiago Silva. Share that season on the impact on the players and the team. E can be na some of the young players no more Chelsea team ni me idolizing and say you perceive as Thiago Silva, you perceive as Thiago Silva. But I think this first step for this young Chelsea team, is very important to help their mentality going forward. It's an important step because all fighting for where we are. The next step is say you fight to be consistent in qualifying for the Champions League. If you become consistent in fighting for the Champions League, the next step you move in is say obey the league title. From the league title, then you might target the Champions League or target other things. So this basic foundation that has been set by this current crop of Chelsea players, me no more mabaso. So Oma told ball inside day and see form plus the coach, good resource, solid. First, the transfer market is heating up. Now me say en komodo na center around the domino effect of the strikers. Strikers we are say. Liverpool say omo pen wan.
Who go ekitike?
Frankfurt one no mo bu omo afiwe pa ne nkofo mo po mo bu omo. You see, sometimes let's sit down and understand how Frankfurt City turn omo strikers. Busa won say Jovic ko en ekosi say. Omo twaso wani sisi e. Mamush na aba ana obo ne kakra kakra. Enye kitike ya na ko ne nam Paris Saint-Germain ya wakopie mu Frankfurt. And I think, sir, one thing is clear about the target of Liverpool. I think Liverpool does not need a striker in the mode of Darwin Núñez and Obi to say Victor Osimhen. They need a striker in the mode of Alexander Isak. But Alexander Isak, they are not difficult because Newcastle are qualified for Champions League.
Yes.
That profile also they so critique na no mo de beto to ano makwa kofa dia ba. But the most important aspect of their transfer is to get a number 10 in the shape of Florian Wirtz. And the quality of Florian Wirtz they be bro maybe one way or the other they might even decide to even keep Darwin Núñez and play Diogo Jota as the number 9 depending on the plan asem. Kwa the gap so ho no kra so betimi abo as the number 9. But kitike mu ne ye okwane abo 80 60 70 na wo kotwa Frankfurt for ne de me de am one person a me said that into me but Victor Gyökeres should also be careful. Victor Gyökeres asem na wo ka say United for ayo mo say no mo mpɛ enya no kore United ni Champions League ma
no open Champions League
open abo but Champions League na but Champions League na wo pa abo no team na wo pa opa na sisi no e ya Arsenal no so ne Benjamin Sesko akoye dey. Akodi nkomo. And no check bibia it looks like Ateta is more enthused about Benjamin Sesko than Victor Gyökeres.
Yeah.
Wontumi.
Liverpool nya na address up Victor Gyökeres. They have not moved in for him. Ebia Chelsea are qualified for Champions League no mu taste besesa. Because the moment Chelsea qualifies for the Champions, their taste and preference changes. Sa squad no mo de ball Conference League no mu timi fa sa squad ni nchemu tum be Champions League derby. So the squad they come Champions League, you lose week after week and suffer. So they will also love to be for. Maybe Chelsea will also love to move in for Victor Gyökeres. But we are Chelsea, Delap, Gyökeres, never Nicolas Jackson call wings. We are Liverpool, target a different player aside Hugo Ekitike. Some more per Alvarez as well. Atletico Madrid for ne Pelunes. That is where deal no beti me awake. I'm both sides now soon be me aba.
Whoa, me that say, me say.
Oh yeah, Ten Hag story be say or call Liverpool senior can replace.
Yeah.
I confirmed. Now the community no, a man for be break can say Eric Ten Hag between akwa adwuma na Alonso yeah Liverpool senior. Na me te sa comment na ya na eye me yakakra say how football etie no. Football any sympathy. Football dances around recency. Football say we a legend ya no catch say did you legend no watch no. A history, people forget it. At the time now, Eric Ten Hag started as a Jumano. He was one of the first 4 names. Say, oh, Bobo coaches, Obetima Manchester Jumano, Obetima Barcelona Jumano, going into the future. Clubs are a job board they took from Passimo Motomano. Eric Ten Hag was touted as those coaches Obetima Jumano. And buying employed Pep Guardiola. No. This manager, Eric Ten Hag, was the head coach of Bayern Munich's second team. No. So everybody saw say, oh, baby, a Ten Hag in amno. Why be the Pep Guardiola so far? The baby doing until the given time. What's baby Jumano? Manchester, the Jumano mano. I've always been saying one thing: big clubs, big demands, big responsibilities. We a young coach now far. What for name me what for risk? What's for opportunity? The ebe come out be your own crowd there. Ten Hag Juma oye de man yes. The place or Timmy Groomy omo be share mu. Omo ye Timmy to omo nya ska. The massacre de Real Madrid farm, including on one backyard in Bernabeu. A Germany no, the Obaba or Manchester no yaw. Now Sako paper.
Wontumi 101.3.
So Gideon man for Martin Hagen not to a chat. Especially at the time of Sally Ronaldo saying ya in a crowd and then come on as say crowd. Oh, tactically unyade. No be about so Baba Boa would be some managing. So people said say man management so no Ten Hagen yade. Now yinedi. Coach on Bruno Subebrisa in terms of the elite level. Yes, we mean FIFA. This guy, how many finals and son or they call? I mean Ten Hag. I call me and sa or Jumumienu, a GFA or GFA Cup. Yet the club said, say Ten Hag in Yade. Whatever you say, whatever you comment or react, yo, Manchester level near Yas and Yepe. One is a fallen traditional giant on the other form say, me Europe be. Even Netherlands or Crown and say you saw it, and if I really know.
Yeah.
So I asked Jetum, but Ten Hag saw Jetum say the two clubs are different in terms of stature. But yo, what did you funny thing? At the time now I asked under Ten Hag, why Juma was sorry Europe the squad me dia ba sharak bebre looking through the squad players are not what why na betime gire ba bia ka say na Ten Hag the tipen and I say ultimately Leverkusen adwuma no and Alonso kura bro no so but this is football. The squad you had at Ajax no is different. The other Manchester no man for adwene mu a very current essence the okoye wa Ajax no na ba bia me gira no de Alonso asama adwuma na ye den asawa e de Ten Hag because olusu Jeremy Frimpong olusu Jonathan Tah no be so olusu Florent Wirtz. What it means and say there's going to be a new era. The new era BS san ye the tutu era na expire no. The fading era no ho ye the new one ebe rise and ebe tutu. Until Leverkusen ko bia mbo history invincible bia ni ba bia unbeaten bia ni ba bia Europa League bia ni ba bia ya. What in common say? But right now Ten Hag Remo the Europa League in the now you can find out the next thing we want to win it. Omo the Bundesliga na make no Alonso Jima we want to win this one. It makes the job very tall for manager Francis Ten Hag. Nemo baby Alonso 3 aye ye ne say
na Alonso de anya ho na pressure crowd
more Alonso de omo fa Ancelotti entoto no ho as a yardstick.
Okay,
omo fa entoto no ho. They have always been telling you Alonso is a young coach. Madrid understands that. Madrid also understands that the squad has been depleted. So Alonso is now starting a new dawn for Real Madrid. Madrid left back here, Madrid right back here, Madrid is 6 here, Madrid number 9 here. Do they still have to believe and hope in the partnership between Vinicius and Mbappe? So these are the situations. Who are the two central defensive parents? Alonso. So Madrid they agree. Say one Ancelotti or Alonso isn't Ancelotti, and that Alonso why you do be Leverkusen. There has to be a new dawn and a new era for Xabi Alonso. They've given the guy the confidence to go. And I'm to players in the and they are welcome. He's a local boy, a Spanish. They understand the level of Drew Ancelotti by now. This is football. It sometimes presents itself so funny. Yeah, the Alonso better to Ten Hag but here Omema Alonso time and patience to work because of the squad differences, because of the squad differences. But my problem was that baby not Ten Hag idea say but no Satamna Alonso krano we judges na to wana nche. But how amera sesa ama Alonso the standard ne de ma ye better to Ten Hag no. That is the other side of footballer. Me dream one say no, as a coach you should always, and as a matter of fact, make yourself very relevant. My point number 2, a story I will hear on Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta be stay with Arsenal. Also, Joker is back up. Zesko beba about so Arsenal team. Me Arsenal stories be bring and saying, but imagine it me say story so a bit developing into yana SM dem no tools.
I know dear.
Yo, Joker Zesko, my young mummy no nyina ade akiro. And then upon me busa come here say, and then Zesko I should go chew be but you no na ye.
European Golden Boot.
I didn't hear.
League no woman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Joe Carres has some.
Yeah, Joe
Carres for sporting.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what should go see Obia. Jet on your top scorer way. Many are coming here. And I'm trying to say, this is why you also need to understand, say, there are levels in the game. But be a generation 60 now. You catch say, no, what the Bahadia 60, you bet you 2. Now goes no, you're in 30 the amount. Meaning so well more so you to say there's a leveler as I say we drew and sign to the top level. Why not Arsenal for turn at this time?
I say between Shesko and Joe Carres no. Omunya Joe Carres na nkomo pe bat. Ombe we na e canon more than Shesko die no. Meaning say what my instance here. Sika ombe to yama club no. The player in question, the ono so beje. Omo kan nyina de bom de toto Benjamin Shesko die no ho a. Joe Carres is much higher a chain that of Shesko. Yeah,
I'm try anything possible. Somebody Joe Carres in a Arsenal for. Yeah, no kwana go. Maka no kwana ka. Striker, and yes striker keke. Striker they come that's what Jesus. Martinelli you can still call them strikers, but me say natural finisher. Martinelli is in a finisher. Bukayo Saka. Open finishes so game no one in the home. He only augments in terms of the goal load. But everyday finisher, high volume scorer, double digits. They need somebody in that regard. Jokers, Arsenal form for music in a striker. And so project now why now Obika say Arsenal for pet player no boy to say look, apart from getting a striker, Mikel Arteta could top player be by no department. I will not agree with him. Area baby, right back, goalkeeping. You've had the goalkeeper or your upgrade on Ramsdale. I'm a David Raya is one of the amount. Central defense in Chenko ni on my left back or Calafiero in your upgrade. Midfield or in Sasama, they need a striker. Yeah, my last piece, Ballon d'Or. My genetic time said Mbappe individually, he's been very much successful. Trophy na nyama ina unyanto enunto. Say Madrid the J Club World Cup no. Na Nations League no France. Mbappe should be part of the Ballon d'Or discussion.
So no more can.
He should be part of the discussion.
Okay.
Yo, say Club World Cup Madrid the J. Na France G Nations League no. Say be so Mbappe goals na wa share na fee no so.
Individual way no so.
Ballon d'Or discussion no. Mbappe should be.
Yeah. Okay.